Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to look at snapshots and virtual copies in Adobe Lightroom. Before I forget though, if you like what you see on my videos, please click the like button down below. And if you want to see more, please click the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel, and then click the bell and you'll be notified whenever I do new releases, which I normally do every Saturday morning. I'm on British Standard Time, so I release at 1 in the morning then. Let's get started. Now, to understand snapshots and virtual copies, you need to understand how Lightroom actually works. With Lightroom, we do what's called non-destructive editing. What ends up happening is you go out, you take some photographs, you bring them back in, and you upload them to your computer, which stores them on your hard drive as a file, whether that be a JPEG or a RAW file or whatever you're moving across. And then you start up Lightroom. And what Lightroom does is it goes off and looks at that file and creates a thumbnail to display inside of Lightroom. And then it also creates some metadata to go along with that to tell Lightroom where the picture's at, and it brings in the camera data. And then whenever you edit it, it actually updates that metadata that's attached to that record or that thumbnail or whatever we like to call it inside of Lightroom. Now, whenever you create a snapshot, all the snapshot really does is create another record to add to the metadata on that file. And so the more snapshots you create, it just creates more metadata. And then whenever you create your virtual copy, what Lightroom is doing is just adding more metadata to its database. And so it'll split it up into a different record. But as you're going to see, the snapshot actually follows both of these records around inside of Lightroom. Now, the key thing to remember here is that Lightroom does not go back and edit the file on the hard drive. You won't get another file on the hard drive, or the file on the hard drive won't change unless you export and overwrite it, or a new file is created whenever you export. So that's non-destructive editing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the snapshot. So snapshots. So I'm in the library window here on the grid view. And what you do to do a snapshot is you come into Develop and you have your image, and you basically come over here on the left hand side. If you can see this, there's a snapshot, and there's no snapshots listed underneath this photograph right now. But to create one, you just click on the plus button next to it, and then it says Create Snapshot. And what happens is it gives you the new snapshot window, and the default snapshot name is a date timestamp. If you want to give it a more descriptive name, then I'm just going to call this one black and white. And you click Create, and then you can see over here on the left hand side I have B&W now for this image. If I wanted to create more snapshots, I just go back and flip this over. And so I've just made some changes to this, and if I click the Create Snapshot again, I've got that same date timestamp. I'm going to call this one Color, and I'm going to click Create. So that's basically how you create your snapshots. And you can see I've got 2 snapshots over here associated with this picture. I can create as many snapshots as I'd like. Now, snapshots will follow this picture around wherever it's at on inside of Lightroom, whatever collection it's in or whatever the case may be. It can also be exported into DNG files, and so it's portable. So I can go ahead and send it off to somebody else, and if they've got Lightroom, they can open it up and they should be able to see the snapshots. Now, some of the limitations of the snapshot, if I go back, if I'm in Develop here and I open up the reference screen, I have no way to drag a snapshot into a reference screen. So I can drag other pictures into the reference screen, but I can't pull the snapshot over. Now, having said that, I can click on the before and after view. And this is my original image, so this is what came out of the camera, and this is after post-production. But I've got these snapshots over here. So if I wanted to put the snapshot in the before window, I would just come over here and right click and say copy snapshot settings to before. And I can move it into the before window. So that's how I can do a comparison, but I can't use it as a reference photo, so I'm limited in that way. And the other thing you're going to notice is if we come back out here to the library, we only see the original image. We don't see any of the snapshots, nor are there any reference to the snapshots out here in this grid view or the survey view. Keep that in mind whenever you're using snapshots. Now, other features inside a snapshot, if I wanted to modify or do anything with these snapshots, I can just come over here and right click on them, and I'm able to rename it. So I can rename this one black and white, or black white, sure. And I can right click and I'm able to delete a snapshot. I'm also able to update with current settings. So update with current settings, if I come back in here, I've got my original snapshot that I've got off this image. Let's say I turn this, we're going to flip this, well, let's do something more that you can see. So we're just going to make it black and white. Okay, so I have this original snapshot. It's black and white. If I come back over here and I flip this back to Adobe Color, if I come back over and mouse over on the black and white, you can see up here in this top left-hand window up here that whenever we mouse over the snapshot is displayed in that window. And if we want to have it display in this window, we just click on it and then it shows in this window. But if we want it to change what's in the snapshot, so I mean I've clicked this, and you saw before I clicked it over to color. Well, it doesn't modify the snapshot. So this is the nice thing about a snapshot, is whenever you take it, it doesn't change until you actually intentionally go in and change it. And how you do that is you just right click on the snapshot and say update with current settings. And this will apply whatever settings that we've done over here inside of this image to this snapshot now. If we come back over and change the image back to black and white like the original snapshot was, well, now our snapshot has the update from the color. So that's a really cool thing with the snapshot, where we can actually lock down several different versions of an image and not have to worry about it accidentally getting changed. Okay, and before I forget, you can also access snapshots up here under the menu under Develop. You can see there's a new snapshot, or you can just use Control-N. Now, the other thing that I noticed, if I export so let's start over here and let's create a snapshot. We're going to change this image from color. We're going to make it monochrome, and then we're going to create a snapshot, and we're just going to call it B&W. Now, if I create a virtual image of this, I come back in here and create a virtual copy. If I open the virtual copy, the snapshot is there as well. And let me let's go back and reset this. So I've got the color image, but I've still got the black and white attached to that one, and I've got the black and white attached to the black and white one, right? So if I go back through and if I try resetting this, well, it went back to black and white, okay, or to color. But you can see the snapshot is still attached to that image. So remember, we talked about the metadata, and now the metadata, or the data that's inside of the Lightroom catalog, will follow the image, and it's still attached to the image. And I don't believe it recreates this metadata. It's created in there once, and it's just attached to both images. And we can test that theory. So if we let's increase the exposure and make it something ridiculous. And if I come back over to this snapshot and I right click on it and I update with current settings, well, now my exposure in here is all blown out. And if I come over here and I check this snapshot, that snapshot is also blown out. So this one snapshot, it's linked to both images. and it like we talked about before, it's portable and it follows this image around wherever it goes. Now keep in mind, if you export this as a DNG and you send it off to somebody and you change your snapshot inside of your Lightroom, it's not going to change the DNG file once it's exported. So now that we've looked at the snapshot, let's check out the virtual copy. So a virtual copy is basically how we do it is we come in here and we can right click on the photograph inside of develop, and then we say create a virtual copy. Now if we create a virtual copy and we change this to, we're going to change the color on this one to black and white, just monochrome. It doesn't go back and affect the original image. And I've actually, at this point, I have two images in the catalog. But so our original is DSC 3786 NEF, you can see down here, but the virtual is actually copy. And so it just shows up as another copy. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner of your thumbnail image, there's like this little triangle down here, and so you can see there's one in this picture as well, and there's one in this picture as well. Those are all virtual copies. So I think in the case of Lightroom, it's created a new thumbnail in the catalog. Maybe it hasn't though, because it could get away with the one thumbnail and just create another metadata file or another metadata instance for this picture is probably what it's doing, and it's got a virtual copy so it knows. Let's crop this down and do another little test. If I come in here and I have a reference, I can pull another version of this into the reference image or a different picture. I can pull all kinds of different stuff into the reference. If I go to the before and after, you can see where I created the virtual copy of the original was color. If we come back out here and we create a snapshot of this black and white image, we create a new snapshot and we're going to call this B&W. And we create that snapshot over here now. If I come back into the original image, it is in there and it's cropped and it's black and white. Now if I come back over here and I mouse, oh, nope, see now it's working. So that snapshot will go wherever this image goes, whether it's done in a virtual copy or if I come back over here to the original, and this time we're just going to do a Control N. We create the snapshot and we're going to call this one color, and we create that. With the virtual image, it's showing up here as well. So it'll follow it around like that. So now let's do our side-by-side comparison of the snapshot and the virtual copy. In both the snapshot and the virtual copy, we can edit different versions. We're also able to update with recent changes in both the snapshot and the virtual copy. Now this is where some of the difference comes in though, is with the snapshot it has to be a deliberate change. We actually have to do something to tell the snapshot that we want it to save, where the virtual copy will just save whenever we do the edit. Now the snapshot does not create a new catalog item, while the virtual copy does create a new catalog item. Now the compare view and the survey view, we know that the snapshot does not support the survey view at all. Compare view is partially covered, but not really. I mean, we can do a compare view where the virtual copy supports both the compare view and the survey view. Now exporting images simultaneously, you cannot do this with a snapshot. It can only be one image at a time with a snapshot, or a virtual copy is like any other catalog item, and I can export multiples at the same time in like a batch or however I'm going to do that. Now available in multiple collections. A snapshot of course follows the image around wherever it's at, so it is in multiple collections. A virtual copy, however, only exists in a collection that it was created in. It doesn't exist in other collections like the snapshot. And finally, portability. The snapshot can be stored in an XMP and a DNG file, and travels with those files, where a virtual copy does not. I mean, whenever you export it, that's what you've got. But the snapshots do go with the exports to DNG and XMP. So that's my video for this week. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something, and I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed this, please don't forget to click the like button down below, and if you want to subscribe, click the subscribe button and hit the bell if you want to be notified whenever I release. I appreciate you watching. Take care.